There you go.
Cogito ergo sum. Does anyone talk Latin in the room? Any help? Any Latin? Any suggestions for what this means?
Rephrase the phrase.
Cogito ergo sum. Perhaps not how it's actually pronounced. But as no one speaks Latin, it doesn't matter because no one's going to tell me I said it wrong.
I think, therefore I am, I guess.
Oh, very good. Yes, I think, therefore I am. Famous French philosopher. He said, I think, therefore I am. Does that mean if you don't think, then you're not? I discussed it with my Chabura last night, the guy I'm learning with one-on-one. He told me it doesn't actually work like that. You can be a French philosopher and not actually believe what you're saying. You can say, I think, therefore I am, but actually not think and therefore still exist. Why do I come onto this? We have a Rabbi Chanan. He says that every drunk shepherd is going to stand judgment for not believing in God. Not just the drunk shepherd, but every single person, including drunk shepherds, are going to stand judgment, asking why they did not believe in God. And he explains that the taina on them is that if it's so obvious that God created the world, so then obviously they should have believed. Now, on the other hand, we've got Elozor Chabura, which says there's three proofs which, quite frankly, are really not so obvious. How do we understand Rabbi Chanan on one side saying it's so obvious there's a God, and Elozor Chabura on the other side saying, come on, it's so complicated. He doesn't say it's complicated, he just says the stuff. So the point is that Rabbi Chanan is talking about basic belief in God. Basic belief, you just got to believe. You can see it, it's so obvious, it's all out. However, Elozor Chabura is talking about more complicated for people who don't believe. People like our French philosopher who ask, do we exist? Yeah, I've got to come to some strange philosophy to say I exist. So for them, we come on to our three reasons. Obviously, these three reasons also apply to us. The Chinuch explains that there's a basic belief in God and there's a higher belief in God. So for us lot, who we want to hopefully get to that higher belief in God, we're going to have to understand these three reasons as well. So I'd like to go through, I don't know whether we'll have enough time today, but I'd like to go through, at least to get a basic overview of these three beliefs. We have the most obvious belief. The most obvious belief is the design. The design argument is, we have a room here. Nice, fancy. Tables, chairs, light fixtures. They're nice, no?
Yes, pretty.
But where would you suggest they came from? Let's start with the table.
Not Italy, but
It was made by someone, right? Chairs. It was produced by someone, yeah? Now, if I would stand up there and say, nah, it just happened, you know? They had to build this big fancy place, for some reason, lots of offices, and they just had to, tables, chairs, who cares? Yeah, just came out of the sky. I mean, you'd look at me as if I'm an absolute crackpot. You go home tonight, and you sit down for your meal, for those who get dinner tonight, and you're sitting there, and it's nice steak and rice and whatever's on the side, and you gobble it all down, and everyone's happy, and your wife's waiting for a thank you. Yeah, it just came like that, it just was produced. Don't try this one at home, it's really not recommended. But it's really not going to go down that well. To just suggest that all this stuff and everything, I go outside in the lobby, that funny glass thing, yeah what? Yeah, exactly. That funny glass, cheap oldie, is just produced, it just happened by itself. Come on, that's pushing things. And yet, we come around, there's scientists, and the scientists are saying that the world, the grand world that we live in, is just produced by, honestly, it's just produced by itself. And what these guys thinking? We have, actually I was thinking about it, and the scientists, if you notice, they wear white coats. I was wondering, why do scientists wear white coats? Anyone got any ideas?
Purity.
Purity, yeah, because that's really important, no?
Yeah.
Right. Scientists wear white coats with their names on. Sorry, that part as well. Because number one is because they applied for the mental home and they couldn't get in, so we give them white coats to make themselves feel as if they're being treated by people in white coats. The other reason for the name is because they're talking such garbage all day that they just at the end of the day, what's my name? Oh, that's it, right? Yeah. Anyway.
How is still studying science?
So, back to where we were. So the scientists claim that there was a Big Bang. Now, if we just retract the big wide world where we are, we're holding by this, an eye. The eye, the eyes, we have two of them. They're more complex. If you look at all the cameras are based on eyes. That is exactly, all the development and everything is based on the eye that we have. Now, an eye is so complex that it can change for any scenario, any scenery, anything. You don't actually have to change the settings, obviously. It goes automatic. An eye doesn't need replacement, hopefully. It can't be replaced. Medically, it cannot be replaced. And it never needs recharging, as a camera would need. Whole bunch of other stuff.
You go to sleep.
Yeah, it can go to sleep, fair enough. Sorry. Yeah. They both work in sync. Both eyes of ours, they work in sync. We don't have to reprogram them to both look at the same thing at the same time. You don't have to ever press any buttons to get them to work together. They're a heck of a lot smaller than any camera that they have ever created that works, that is good. They don't have such a thing. So it's for someone to suggest that the eye just came about through, oh yeah, now we have an eye. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, take the brain for example. Let's not get all complex into the brain and how it works and everything. Let's just think about the recollection of the brain. We have a recording device. Now, the brain can record 24/7, day in, day out, 365 days a week. Yeah. And yet, you know, and it never wears down with age at all, hopefully. And yet, someone would suggest, these guys in the white coat, they would suggest that just happened. We have the heart, the kidney, arms work out, go through your body, you'll work out, everything. They're just suggesting, come on, it's going over the top of it. So, what is their theory? Their theory is that there was a Big Bang. It was basically, the world we live in was an accident. Now, there was a Big Bang over Sharm el-Sheikh last 2 weeks ago. A plane exploded. It wasn't there and exploded, there was a technical error. When I wrote this speech, I wrote in my conspiracy theory mind that the plane was blown up. And it's actually come true. Sorry for all you got. So, the plane was shot down or was exploded by Daesh, by some people who don't like the Russians. So, I don't know if anyone's been there to Sharm el-Sheikh recently, but this Russian plane where the cockpit is, so the cockpit is like lying all over the show there, and there's waterfalls coming out of there. Have you seen it? It's fascinating. Out of the walls of the plane is waterfalls. It's crazy stuff. And there's like eyeballs rolling around and brains. It's amazing. You look at me as if I'm nuts.
What happened?
There was a plane blew up,
Yeah.
and there's a cockpit lying there in the middle of the desert, and there's a brain just lying alongside there with eyes and also a waterfall. You seen it? It's on the news. You should check it out. So. Obviously, you're looking at me as if I'm totally lost here. But that's what these scientists believe. They believe that there was a Big Bang, and to go back, they believe that there was matter, and it was like all hanging together, and then somehow it exploded. It was a freak accident. It was a total mistake that happened. And suddenly this whole thing came. It's like, come on. Did we notice that by the explosion on Sharm el Sheikh? Didn't happen. That's basically that argument. Anyway, we move on to the next one. The next argument is the argument of the first cause. First cause, C-A-U-S-E. You say it differently.
Cause.
Cause. No,
C-A-W-S.
so basically what it says is that everything has a cause and effect. That everything that is around was something and therefore it was produced. That's why what happened. So anything that you have a table, there was a tree was planted, that's how the tree came about. Always there's a first stage and the next stage. It's called domino effect. First X and then Y happens from it. Now I ask you, how can you have a domino effect without the first domino being placed there? If there's nothing that caused the first thing, now if you believe that the world has been going on for millions and billions of years, but what happened at the beginning? What was the first thing that placed it in order to push all the dominoes? Any ideas?
You said there was a beginning.
What?
You said there was a beginning.
So what caused the first thing to start? Cause and effect. Cause, effect. Cause, effect. What happened? What would you suggest was the first thing that caused it all to happen?
Maybe it just continued going. We can't prove.
It's been going forever.
Maybe.
So what was the? I'm sorry for not being clear here. What was the first thing that started it? Is that it's been going forever? What happened before forever? It's still been going forever. Am I clear? There was a first forever before forever.
You said there has to be something before the forever. Maybe it was forever before the forever.
Ah, that's a good idea. So what created forever?
What created forever?
Yeah.
Since we know that there's a creator.
Yeah.
That was the first point.
Yo.
Now that we know the first point that you were talking about, that there is a
No,
creator.
No. Sorry. There's one argument called design. Leave him away.
Okay.
We're moving on to the next one. It's called
I'm just asking.
First cause.
First cause.
You're
Right.
talking, Elozor, you're talking about the first cause argument. So the first
Yeah.
cause argument you're telling me is meant to prove to me that there must have been a first cause domino effect.
No, I'm going to explain to you why. Just keep it. Hold on tight. So if the world's been going forever, another thing is, why did we only reach now? Maybe we reached now 100 years ago.
Huh?
Huh? If we've been going forever and there's been no time that we haven't, we've just always been going. So why did we only reach today now? Maybe we reached today over here.
Don't get it.
Because it's a big loop and we're just going through part of it.
What?
We're just going through, it's a big infinite loop.
Yeah.
And we're just stuck in part of it. 'Cause we're
Why
mortal.
stop?
We're mortal. So we were born into a part of it and that little part of it, that's where we are.
Alright, so let's see about the lesson of this kind of stuff. Anyway, let's say someone created the world. Let's say it's a human being who created the world. Or let's even say that it's not a human being, that was aliens. Or a dinosaur, for argument's sake. Who created that alien or dinosaur? Let's say we would believe that the dinosaur created itself, or the world created itself. When did the world create itself? Did it create itself before it became a world? So then it's sort of tricky, because if it created itself before it became a world, then it was a world already. And if it created itself after it became a world, then again it was a world already. So we have to believe that there was an absolute higher being who created the world, because who created God? God created himself. But we have to believe that there was a higher being who created the world, because anything in this world couldn't have created itself. We move on to the third proof. And again, as we move on, you have to sort of forget the other. You have to forget the other ones, and concentrate on this specific proof.
Why?
Why? Because if you believe in God, then you don't need another proof. Okay. Thank you. So anyway, the topic of discussion, the lesson was called God, who says, and who cares. So far we've discussed the who says. The who says is the design. Design is basically obvious. The world screams out and says that it was God. The other point is the right, very good. The first cause. First cause is common sense. It just makes sense. Now we move on to the who cares part of the topic. Moral imperative, it's known as. So, where does right and wrong come from? A person is born intuitively with knowing that something is right or wrong. If you scream at a child, and the child will stop. Sorry, if you tell a child that something is wrong, it will stop doing it. How does the child know before that that's wrong? It must be that it's inborn to people that they know that things are wrong. I've got like a small side argument on this, that a child, if you've ever seen calling a child, so parents say that, look, the child's so clever that the child actually knows its name, because you call the child's name and it turns around. Actually, I've tried on children. If you call a child some other name like Maxwell or Washington or washing machine, it would also turn around eventually, because this child is thinking, what the heck, when is he going to stop? So, washing machine, washing machine, washing machine, washing machine. So eventually he'll just turn around and you'll smile and you'll move on. So it could be that this is not really such a proof, because children, when you scream at them, then they're going to realize that something's wrong. And when you say it, they're going to smile, then they're going to be more happy. But generally we know that people know right and wrong. So when was it established that what things are right and wrong? There's 4 possible ways of how it could be established. Number 1 is personal, number 2 is social, I'm going to explain all of them, global, and evolution. Now, personal basically means that I feel that it's wrong. I don't like you sitting there with your side dogs there, so therefore I'm going to go, it's wrong, you're not allowed to sit like that. And you turn to me and you say, come on, I do like it, so therefore, whatever. Say that, screw you. However, so we have to move on to something which is more acceptable. So we'll move on to society. Society doesn't like it. Society says that what you're doing is wrong. My society dictates, see, they've already fallen in for it. My society dictates that it's wrong. But you know what? Your society can say that it's right. So therefore, again, scrap that. If society decides what is right and wrong, so go hang yourself. Who cares what your society says?
Can you give an example of societies?
No, it's okay. Thank you. Do I want to give an example of
Societies arguing on moral.
On moral? So, for example, my society believes, as I was saying before, my society believes that to walk around like that guy's walking around is just absolutely disgusting and it's a mess. And that's not the way that people should walk around. It's just, it's not respectable. And his society believes that anyone who walks around like this is a disillusion of religion. So there we have 2 societies which are obviously believing in Judaism, but they're clashing because it's based on society. So if all morals are going to be based on society, then forget it. What his society decides is right it's not going to prove that that is the right moral, because it's just based on societies. So we move on to global. Global argues that globally most people in the world do X. So most people in the world are Muslims. Yeah? Does that mean now that Muslims is the right thing, that Islam is the right thing? That doesn't make any sense. You can't say that. If most people in the world believe that to chop off the head is a moral way of behaving, He's an infidel. He gets his head chopped off. Does that mean that it's morally correct to chop people's heads off? I don't believe so. How about you? Do you think so? No? Okay. So we come on to the fourth argument of where morals may come from. It may come from evolution. Evolution literally means survival of the fittest.
Who said there are morals? Real morals?
Do you believe that things are right or wrong?
No, I don't.
You serious?
I'm
So
serious, I don't
you
believe
would.
it.
Have you ever had moral outrage? You saw this video on YouTube of Daesh John. He's called Jihadi John, chopping off people's heads. Kids. You ever had that? You ever felt like, ugh, that is wrong? Or you're like, cool. If yes,
feels wrong,
stay there.
If it feels wrong, I do feel it's wrong.
Oh, so you feel wrong. Very good.
But that's a feeling I got from, since the people around me, obviously they're not disgusted from it, right? Everyone in Daesh they know that it's not something to be discussed with. I am, because people in America do not do that.
So again, so that's exactly my point. Thank you very much. That's
Okay.
exactly my point. Your society says it's wrong, yeah? And my society, which is I'm part of Daesh, holds that it's right. So therefore, we can't rely on societies to dictate. What I'm bringing out is that we can't rely on society to dictate morals. Okay? Yes.
He just said, pardon? Daniil just said that the society, the reason he will feel the way it is because of society. He's saying he agrees with you that his society dictates how he feels, and that society dictates how they feel. And you're trying to say that globally, you're trying to say that that therefore implies that there's an inherent there's inherent morality. But he's saying not like that. He's saying no. My society dictated what was my inherent feeling. The opposite true. He says, I don't know there's morality. I only know what I've been dictated by my society. And therefore, how can I know there's morality? You wanted to say it's how you feel. He's saying that's what my society is, and you, because of what you said earlier, it can't be true.
Fair enough. Although, just to argue with you, he said that I don't feel that's right. Again, so he didn't say my society has dictated that I don't think it's right. He said I don't think it's right. When I came with Jihadi John and I'm knocked off the head, he was like, ugh, I don't like that. Why did he say I don't like that?
Because of his society.
Possibly.
That's what he's saying. And he's saying if what you're saying is true, that it's inherent, then Jihadi John should not be able to cut off his head. Because if morals are inherent in someone's body, then if this is inherently morally wrong, he should not be able to do it.
I'm just going through the possibilities. We have decided that morals are inherently inborn. I'm asking, where do these morals come from?
Right. Daniel's saying that you just contradicted yourself by saying that because he just proved to you that inherent it's not inherent. By bringing Jihadi John, you see that it's not inherently morals are not inherent. The proof is Jihadi John.
A person can prove that.
What you're saying is that Jihadi John doesn't have any feeling,
No, I'm saying
and therefore, based on him, we can prove
based on
that it's not inherent.
based on the whole society of this jihadi people doing these things, which you asked to him specifically how you feel. If what you're saying is true that it can be uprooted, of course, then it can also be instilled. Meaning there's no necessary then both
But
I'm just trying to show you that the argument doesn't. There's no way to argue that it's inherent because of what you just brought. You brought an argument against yourself by bringing Jihadi John and the entire society of Muslims.
Now the question is why do people get outraged?
You know what I'm saying?
Stop.
Okay, go on.
I didn't want. Right, we have 5 minutes. Just to give you a heads up.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Okay. So we come on to evolution. Evolution is survival of the fittest. So there was a bunch of guys who believed that it's the right thing to go cutting up people's heads. For argument's sake. I came along and said that it's wrong because I was evolving, and I said it feels wrong. Now, just think about it. If something is survival of the fittest, then I'm not gonna survive because everyone else believes go cut off head. So I'm saying, no, it doesn't feel right. Don't do it. So very nice. Someone's gonna end up doing it to you. You're not gonna survive like that. That doesn't make sense. So evolution in this point doesn't seem to make sense that really we didn't have any feelings, and now we've suddenly evolved our feelings. You're not gonna survive. Simple as that. So it must be based on the lack of it, relying on personal, social, global, and evolution. The only possible thing is that it's coming from a higher being. That a higher being dictates. That a higher being dictates.
Maybe
that,
that.
the higher being dictates what is morally correct and what is morally incorrect. Why does it have to be a higher being? Because it has to be something which is not affected, which doesn't have moods, it's unchangeable. And therefore, if I want to have morals that are unchangeable, then you can have that at this point, this society thinks this is wrong, and years later, the next society thinks it's wrong. That's going to happen if you allow morals to be based on a changeable thing. However, if you want to have concrete morals, things which are right or wrong, you're going to have to have that it comes from a higher being. Okay. So if we just recap, we've seen that there's a design argument which basically points out everything you see it must have been created by a creator. The first cause is saying that there was a first cause that started the whole domino effect, and the last one is the moral imperative, which says that there must be someone up there, a creator, who decides what is morally correct, who decided what is morally correct and what is not morally correct. I'd just like to point out that these things are not proofs. These things are what we call evidence. Because if I call them proofs and you disprove me, then I've got sort of a hole in religion. I'm basing my religion on this point, and now it's not there anymore. Now he's proven it wrong. Then my religion falls away. However, if I just call it evidence, which is I've got most of the evidence, then what I'm saying is that I have a lot of evidence. If you don't like it, fine. So scrap this piece of evidence and move on to the next. Thank you for listening.
All right.